What's good, family? Welcome back to another powerful episode of Shifting the Culture podcast, where we speak truth to power, where we elevate the culture and we challenge the narrative. I'm your host, Brother King Cam, and we got a powerful episode set up for you tonight. First, I just want to talk to the family real quick because we are living in very strange and revealing times. Here we are in 2025, and Donald J. Trump is back in office, back in the White House. Like it or not, the reality is what it is. He's already making major moves, and first is the tariffs. He's putting a lot of tariffs on China, sending shockwaves through the economy. Now, that's going to affect everything through the economy and the price of food and how America positions itself on the global stage. But what does it mean for us? For Black people and for the Black community, for everyday people who are stretched thin with inflation, low wages, and a lack of real opportunity. The country is at a crossroads, a political circus on one side and social chaos on the other. And somewhere in the middle, we're still trying to find out who we are as a people. But what does it all really mean for Black people in America who've always been misled, misused by this political system? Then you look at hip-hop, the music of the streets, the voice of the culture, and you gotta ask, what happened? What happened to the message? The movement, the unity? Somewhere along the way, the art became a trap and the rappers became pawns. Now, we're left with a genre that's often more about death than deliverance. And with all this happening, there's a deeper and more spiritual trial taking place, a public crucifixion of truth. Not with nails, but with lies, slander, and fear. So tonight, we're not just having a conversation, we're having a cultural intervention. And to help us navigate through the noise, we brought in a heavy hitter. Someone whose presence commands respect, a true soldier in the mission of truth, justice, and liberation. We're honored to be joined by none other than Student Minister Abdul Malik, also known as Brother Tony Muhammad. He's not just a name in the streets. He's the Western Regional Minister of the Nation of Islam and devoted helper to the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan. As the streets say, he's one of those ones, but a real brother, a leader of men, a peacemaker in the streets, and a voice for the voiceless. From the block to the boardroom, from gang intervention to spiritual elevation. And he's boots on the ground fighting for our people. So let's lock in, turn the volume up, and get ready for a conversation that might just shift your whole mindset. Let's get into it. Brother Minister Abdul Malik, welcome to the show, brother.
Man, it's an honor to be on your show, dear brother. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have so much to get into, but let's just start with the election of President Donald Trump and his administration, the first 4 months coming in. Now, he wanted to get rid of the Department of Education, fired hundreds, if not thousands, of federal workers, and he wants to hit China, Mexico, Canada with all of these tariffs, has Elon Musk as an advisor, which most people are like, what does he have going on? Elon Musk has as an advisor. And then you have Black people who are crying the blues, you know? So could you just give us your thoughts on our relationship to politics and where we are right now?
Yeah. First, but before I do that, always having to give honor to Almighty God, Allah, and his servants. We are so blessed and don't even know it that we've had divine leaders raised right in front of our eyes, but we have not yet recognized them. So it's just an honor to be here representing the teachings
Yes, sir.
of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through our leader, who, as we talk today, we would have to give Minister Farrakhan his proper character.
Yes, sir.
Because the scriptures, or the Bible and the Holy Quran, is a script. And, you know, I'm in Los Angeles, so they write scripts all the time. Well, God is a divine script writer, and we're living out prophecy. So in his script, who's playing the role of Jesus today? Who's playing the role of Pharaoh? See, and who are the children of Israel is the question that we would have to answer and talk about as we go. But I wanted to say to you, as a young brother in the Nation of Islam and watching you through the social media platforms, I really just came to salute you for the work that you are doing. Because through modern equipment, the power of the teachings can move at a faster pace.
Yes, sir.
And so it's an honor, dear brother, to be here with you, to see young brothers like you standing on the shoulders of those of us who are trying to lay the foundation so that the house of the Nation of Islam, the new kingdom, can be built. So I wanted to just say that before we got into it, because you all are the Joshua generation.
Yes, sir.
And so it's time to walk around these walls that have been built between us so that they may fall, that truth may really come into view. So,
yes, sir.
With that, what was your question?
Yes, sir. Well,
Talking about Trump?
Yes, sir. And you mentioned in LA they write scripts all the time. But you originally from Atlanta.
Yeah, born and raised
in Atlanta.
I mean,
so
but
you home.
a real Grady baby.
Oh, yes, sir. A real Grady baby.
Some people claim Atlanta, but they from Macon and other places. You know, but,
yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah. Born here, went to school, Decatur High School, graduated in '77, and finished at Morris Brown.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Came in the nation in 1985 here. Wow. So Atlanta is my physical birth and spiritual birth.
Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. There's so much history here in Atlanta. But yes, sir. So, like I said, President Trump came into office, sweeping, shockwaves across the nation. As soon as he get in office, he want to cut the Department of Education. He want to fire hundreds and not thousands of, federal employees. He wants to hit China and Canada and Mexico with the tariffs. He telling people what's going on. And black people, we just got the blues. We crying. First we was depressed because, Vice President Kamala Harris lost. So we was in the house for like a week straight. Then we came out the house, and everywhere you turn around, we complaining about something that Donald Trump is doing. So I wanted to ask, where do black people stand in all of this, and what should we be focusing on?
Well, thank you. I think these are great questions. As a spiritual student and student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's leadership, a couple of things. Black people, number one, suffer from a lack of knowing who we are. Number two, black people do not know prophecy. That 75% of what we read in the Bible is not history. It's actual prophecy. But once the Bible got over into the hands of the European, they took prophecy and wrote it historically as if it's history, and took history and made it prophecy. So if we just knew what time it was and is, we would know that God is angry with America. And God is going to take America out. The same way he took out Egypt, the same way he took out Sodom and Gomorrah, the same way he took out Rome. Anytime a country reaches the apex of power, but don't submit their will to do the will of God and have in her borders slaves. Black people today, we don't even realize we are refugees. This is not our country.
Right. Yes, sir.
And the white man is going to show us, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said Trump is going to remove the mask of civility off the real white man.
Yes, sir.
And so no matter what you say about Trump, look at who voted for him. And if you look at scripture, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said Trump will be the last president. And God is going to use him to tear up America and tear it down because of his arrogance, because of his lies. And you know, in the nation, we're taught the nature of Caucasian people.
Right.
They are liars by nature.
Yes, sir.
Liars and murderers. So I would say to your listening audience, there's a book written by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad where he prophesied and predicted the fall of America. See? So Egypt, and I'm making a comparison here so that our people understand that history is repeating itself.
That's right.
And history going to continue to repeat itself until it corrects itself.
Yes, sir.
So Egypt, go back to Egypt. When Moses went to Pharaoh, what did he say? Integrate?
No, sir.
What did he tell Pharaoh? God told him.
He said, let my people go.
Right. Come out of her, my people.
Right.
But the people had been in Egypt for so long, they got spoiled. They didn't want to leave Egypt because Egypt was rich. Egypt was powerful. Egypt had the most powerful army, the most powerful trade agreements. So God said, oh, so I'm going to hit her economically. See, so Egypt lost her economic power. Egypt started losing her political power. And then God started hitting Egypt with plagues and rain and hail and snow. And then the slaves started waking up that, whoa, maybe Moses was right. Huh?
Yes, sir.
And Minister Farrakhan, what have we been teaching our people?
Come out of her.
For 94 years, we've been warning her that America is going to fall. And in that book, The Fall of America, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said America is going to lose all her friends. Well, what is Trump doing with these tariffs?
Putting America by herself, putting her in a corner.
Now, Canada is angry. France is angry. See? Great Britain is angry. Germany angry with America. And then you messing with the big Goliath, China.
China, right.
Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's prediction then is right. You're losing your friends. And God is going to destroy America economically. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said one day you're going to see the rich, the billionaires, lighting their cigarettes with a $500 bill. So we're not going to be too hurt. We've been poor.
Right, right.
Huh?
Yes,
We're
sir.
learning how to line dance while America is falling. See?
That's real talk.
So we used
That's
to
real.
poverty, but our people are going to have to either wake up. God is going to force black people to separate because God is going to turn the white man against us for not listening to black leaders who have for years been telling us to do for self.
Don't
See?
suffer the consequences.
Do not, no political party, Democrats or Republicans, is going to be our friends. And we have a champion, a man in our midst today, that no matter how you look at it, my dear brother, Minister Farrakhan is a modern day Jesus in our midst. And he's been attacked for the truth that he speaks. And that's why America is going to suffer. So she's not coming back. Trump is working on behalf of God.
Yes, sir.
No matter what people think, she's not coming back. She's going to lose, she's going to fall, and we're going to come out of here.
And many of our people, or just people in general, tend to have that. Some people have that optimistic mindset, we looking at the market and, analyzing, these different things, not really understanding, what's in the background, how God is really rearranging the things. And the beautiful thing about the scripture is that you see how even the the children of Israel got upset with Moses
Absolutely.
for telling them to leave Pharaoh.
Absolutely.
I mean, they really had an issue with Moses. I mean, they was like, man, Moses, what you got going on? Because when Moses went to Pharaoh, Pharaoh made it harder on the children of Israel. He doubled their work. He doubled the amount of time they had to spend slaving. So the slaves, they looking at Moses like, man, what you doing, man?
So what is Trump doing? He's putting pressure on the slave. He's kicking you off the federal jobs.
There you go.
Didn't the Honorable Elijah Muhammad say the white man is going to kick you to the curb and prove that he never loved you? He never wanted you to be a part of his society. This is not your country.
Yes, sir.
They're going to force our hand.
DEI. The whole DEI thing. And then you got a lot of our spiritual leaders who took the position that they're going to fight back to get DEI back.
Yeah. Brother, I had a meeting with some pastors who was upset, as if a president is going to deliver our liberation. Pastor, y'all have a pastor here,
Dr. Jamal Bryant, yes, sir.
When I heard this pastor say he was depressed, it troubled my spirit. Wait a minute. Don't you all supposed to be waiting on Jesus? Didn't Jesus say that he's bringing in a new government? Didn't Jesus say he's coming with a new kingdom? So why are you trying to uphold? So if he's coming with a new kingdom, then whose kingdom is this?
Good question.
Is this God's or Satan? Because if it was God, Jesus would just say, I'm coming to sit on my throne. No, he said, I'm replacing this kingdom. So I said to the pastors, and I'm showing them their Bible, don't you see all of the signs right here in your Bible that Jesus has returned? He's here. And many of them had to nod, just like you are, saying, I never considered scripture, because you're getting caught up in the emotion of being in love with America, but yet they dupe you even scripturally. So, brother, I'm telling you, America, we could talk till our ears fall off. She's not coming back. It's going to get worse for her. A war is getting ready to break out. And when that war break out in the Middle East, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said it's going to spread throughout all of Asia and into Europe. And soldiers will go to war by the tens of thousands, but return by the hundreds, because her European brother got something for her. So we're witnessing the fall of America. I encourage your listeners to get the book written by Elijah Muhammad called The Fall of America, and he puts it in there how she's going to fall. And it's happening just like he narrated it would.
The exact way she's going to fall. I mean,
Absolutely.
He laid it all the way out.
Absolutely.
From getting her out of the Pacific. The minister in his lectures, The Great War, he talked about what's going to happen to the 6th and the 7th Fleet and America's great army. Man, all of that's over with. All of that's over with. So you want to get that book, The Fall of America. So since we here, we're going to go ahead and keep pushing. You just, you recently, you did a lecture series entitled The Trial of the Modern Day Jesus. So I want you to kind of unpack that for our listening audience.
Well, I have a couple of pastors that are friends that I study with. And you know, the truth, the voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is being attacked by the most powerful Jews in the world. And if you want to know who controls you or who controls America, find out who you can't criticize. See? So in this modern day Jesus, I said to the pastors, who was the enemy of Jesus? And many of the pastors, even in their hesitation, in the New Testament, in the book of John, they had to admit that the three groups that hated Jesus was the Pharisees.
That's one.
The Sadducees.
That's two.
and the Sanhedrins. Then when I asked them, then define who they are. And they had to admit each of those groups were Jewish groups. See? And if you go and look at the Pharisees, they would be the equivalent of the ADL today.
Yes, sir.
The Jewish Defense League. That's who they are. If you look at the Sadducees, they're the Zionist Jews. They are the very wealthy Jews who never wanted the truth to come out, and they practiced a book called the Talmud. Then you had the Sanhedrins. These were the political Jews, which would be today AIPAC. Because AIPAC owned all the politicians.
Oh.
All of our black politicians are owned by the Jews. I'm sorry. Every one of them. Find out who give them their money. None of them will criticize Jews. Even if Jews did wrong, they will never criticize them. The only man in America who stands up and tells the truth that the Jews today, you know, brother, we don't hate them, but we're in a theological argument with them.
Yes, sir.
That you are not the children of Israel. That's us. You stole our birthright. And they will not sit down and meet with us to discuss biblical truths. The Jews are not Hebrews. They're from Europe. They're not African. They was converted to Judaism. See? So they're not the original Jew. That's your and my birthright. But we're hidden in the Bible under coded languages, and Minister Farrakhan is unpacking it, and he's been attacked. Because when black people wake up to realize who we are and that we've been lied to, this is what they don't want to happen. This is why they attacked hip hop in its early stages, because hip hop artists was conscious.
Yes, sir.
And they was waking us up consciously to who we are. So the Jews knew that in order for them to be in power, they had to make sure black people stay asleep. And so in the trial of the modern day Jesus, I said to the pastors, I said, you know, are you friends with the Jews? And they would say yes. I said, well, turn to the book of John. Let's go in the 4th and 5th chapter. Jesus said to his disciples, if you are truly my disciples, my enemies will be yours. See? I said, so are the Jews your enemies? I said, who was the enemies of the Jews? And the pastors had to unpack it and said, the Roman government, the press of Jesus' day, and the Jewish rabbis. I said, well, who are your enemies?
They had to think about that one.
They couldn't tell me. They just said Satan. I said, well, who in the hell is he?
Right.
I said, but who is Minister Farrakhan's enemy? The Jews have never said Farrakhan tell lies. See, they just try to say he's anti-Semitic, and we're not even that because we are Semites, so we can't be anti ourselves. Right. This is, brother, it's so simple. The truth is so simple, but you got to have courage to stand up on it.
Yes, sir.
And most black people don't because we want white validation. And we want to be pat on the head by the Jews because we know they control the economic purse strings. So that's what I'm teaching, taught in that lecture series, The Trial of the Modern Day Jesus, because now the Jewish powers that be is trying to figure out a way, not just to silence Minister Farrakhan. Right now, they're working on a bill to make it a felony. To make it a felony, listen at this, to even criticize Jews.
Wow.
Anti-Semitism is about to be turned into a law. So you mean to tell me if I see a Jew doing something wrong and I tell you he's wrong, I can't criticize you? They're working right now on a bill to silence Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And in that book, The Fall of America, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the biggest hindrance to white supremacy and white power is the Nation of Islam. We stand in the way of what they really want to do to black people, brother. So Islam will be banned from America too. They're working on that right now through the Palestinians. Anybody that stands with Gaza, the Palestinians,
Yes, sir.
now are anti-Semites.
Anti-Semite. Yep, that's a fact.
So President Trump is saying he's going to tear up Palestine. He's about to get into a hornet's nest if he attacks Palestine and the Islamic countries. It's going to be pandemonium, my dear brother. And so that's the lecture series, but it's a heck of a lecture series where we use the Bible to show that Minister Farrakhan, regardless of what you think about it, he's walking in the footsteps of Jesus. He's hated by the press. He's hated by the Jews, and the government do not want to support him. So even if you say he ain't Jesus, he certainly is walking in those footsteps, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. That's powerful right there, especially in the mindset of our people, because most of us sitting around waiting for Jesus to return. That's what we have been taught coming up in the church, that Jesus of 2,000 years ago was coming back.
Well, remember in the book of St. John, there was an argument with the Jewish rabbis and Jesus. It's in the book of St. John's in the 8th chapter, starting with verse 30 all the way through 54. He's in this argument with the Jews, and he said to them, you're going to know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Listen at their argument. They said to Jesus, what do you mean we be free? We've never been into bondage. Uh-oh. Well, then who is this group in the book of Genesis when God told Abraham, your seed is going into bondage for 400 years. And after that time, I'm coming to get them, and they're going to come out with great substance. But yet that country who took them into bondage, see, God has said, I'm going to destroy them. That's us. We came here in 1555 on a slave ship named Jesus. So from 1555 to 1955 made 400 years. The Jews can't find nowhere in history where they was in bondage in Egypt. Egypt have the oldest known history to man. There is no historical account of some Jews being in bondage. That's a fact. That's us. So they said to the Jews, Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And they said, we've never been in bondage. Then Jesus said, then I know you. You are of your father, the devil. Then they got into an argument with Jesus and started making mockery of his birth. Said, at least we was not born of fornication.
Fornication, right.
Jesus said, why do you seek to kill me, a man that only just tells the truth? Then he said, I know you. You are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you shall do. He was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. See? And the truth is not in him. This is who we're dealing with. Trump represent the great satanic group of people. We think Satan is some cat in the ground with some reds. Man, I shouldn't say that because I'm red. You know, with a tail and a pitchfork.
Right, and a pitchfork, yes, sir.
They don't know that it's a certain set of Caucasian people who are wickedly wise. They know the time, they know scripture, and they know who we are. This is why they use every method to keep us mentally stressed out so we don't even look for who we are. I'm sorry, sister, in scripture. See? And so that's what we're dealing with right now, brother. And Minister Farrakhan, brother, he is our way out. He is our ticket.
Yes,
See?
sir.
Africa right now is waking up.
Waking up.
They are beginning to tell white people to go home.
Pushing them out. They pushing them out.
Why are they doing that? What is all of this? They're getting ready for us to come back home. Because we're going to have to go back. See, just like Joseph had to go back. Joseph was sold into bondage by his own brothers. Our brothers played a role in selling us into bondage. But Joseph became wise under Pharaoh. We are the most educated black people in the world in America.
That's a fact.
See, so instead of trying to make America strong, why don't we make Africa strong? And tell America to do for us what you did for the Jews. See, since we had nothing to do with their Holocaust, but you had everything to do with ours, give us a good send-off. Mm-hmm. See? Brother, if you had a daughter or a sister who was married to a man who was physically abusing her, beating her behind, calling her out her name night and day, what would all of us recommend her to do?
Leave. Get up out of there.
Really? Where 400 years. These people have been abusing us, but most people who are abused fall in love with their abusers.
Think about that.
Huh? We suffer from the Stockholm Syndrome. There was a bank robbery in Stockholm. And these people held people captives for 7 days, King Cam, in Europe. Mm-hmm. The bank robbers beat the heck out of the people who they had hostage for a minute, but after a while start dealing with acts of kindness. They would give them water. They would give them pizza. After 7 days, they gave up. Wow. But when those bank robbers went to trial, guess who came to trial to defend them? The captors. Every time we try to point to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party of the government of America, or whenever we try to pull the cover off the satanic Jews, who comes to defend them?
We do.
Black people.
Some black person, some black face that they use to come and be their talking point to try and quell the uprising, try to quell the truth that's coming out of our people.
See, that's why we're in the Bible. That's us. Lazarus is us. What was Lazarus doing? Land at the gate man doing the gate of the rich man doing what? Begging.
But today was called, social services. It's called welfare. It's called food stamps. It's called
SCLC. It's called NAACP. It's called HBCU.
Yes, sir. All of that.
Begging. We want white validation. Don't take black history out of the schools. You should be teaching it at home. Mm-hmm. Why I got to go to a white college to have some white person trying to teach me about myself? It ain't going to even come across right. We're beggars. But Lazarus, who was laying at the rich man's gate, what happened to Lazarus? He had sores all over him, and a dog came and licked his sores. But if you go look up the definition of a dog, it's not just a four-legged animal. Mm-hmm. Definition number 3 under the definition of dog talks about a contemptuous person. A person who's contemptuous is one who takes advantage of other people's ignorance. Mm. Who takes advantage of our athletes? Who takes advantage of our entertainers? Who's taking advantage of us? Brother, God is going to force us to unite. Muslim, Christians, agnostic, long as you black, God is going to force us to unite, or we're going to be destroyed with America, period. And that's why I taught that subject, the trial of the modern day Jesus, because right now, before it's over with, there's going to be an announcement. Minister Farrakhan will be arrested.
I was going to ask you that. What should we be looking for during this trial?
He's not going to say nothing because it ain't his trial. We've turned our back on everybody. We turned our back on Nat Turner. Nat Turner was taught to read and he read the Bible correctly.
That's right.
Huh?
And then he started moving correctly.
But yet I can go to the HBCUs. I can see us with Nat Turner on a T-shirt, or Marcus Garvey on a T-shirt, or Malcolm X. But if they was here, would you really be with them? In fact, would the press even let you walk with them? Because all of these people, Nat Turner, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Dr. King's, are trophies. They was hunted down like the white man hunt deer, and now their heads is on the wall of white folks.
Wow.
See? No, Farrakhan is going to be the last leader we turn our back on before God punish us right along with the wicked. So when Minister Farrakhan is arrested, he said, brother, I'm not going to say nothing because it ain't going to be my trial. It's going to be y'all's trial. because we turned our back on every leader. Dr. King was not talking about integration his last 2 years of life. Dr. King started saying boycott.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
He said, let's redistribute the pain.
That's what he said.
But they don't tell you about those lectures. He said, we got to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. Because he met with Elijah Muhammad, and the two Georgia boys had said that they was going to unite to pull black people together. The Jewish powers that be said, no, we can't let these two powerful black leaders come together. We need a Harriet Tubman type today, brother. We need a Soldier of Truth type today. People that want to see us liberated. Brother, President Trump, I don't care if he's the biggest liar. He's who he is by nature.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
But he's good for black liberation.
I love that because we on the same page with that. I see Trump make a move and our people start crying the blues, and I say, wait a minute, that's good for us. We can teach our children at home. We don't need the Department of Education. Look at the fruit of the Department of Education. What does it produce that we can say has produced anything of value for our people?
Well, you know, there's a saying that says, mama may have, papa may have, but God bless the child with.
Has his own.
So in Los Angeles, brother, I say to the gang leaders when they tell me they run a hood, and I have this story where some of the top gang leaders in Los Angeles, I put them in my car. Mm-hmm. I said, brothers, come go with me. And I drove them downtown Los Angeles. They like, Brother Muhammad, where you taking us? I said, just be quiet. Just follow me. Don't say nothing. I don't need y'all to trip. So we get downtown, and it's this huge sign that the city put up. I said, brothers, what does that sign say? You are now entering into Chinatown. We driving through Chinatown. It's huge in LA. They had grocery stores. They had banks. They had restaurants. But the signs is all in Chinese. Mm-hmm. I said, brother, what does that sign say? I don't know, Brother Muhammad. I said, why don't you know? It's in Chinese. I said, but look in every store. Is it packed? Yes, sir. Wow. We park. We get out. I said, now I'm going to go in this store. Brothers, don't trip. We go into the store, my dear brother. I grab some goods. But in this particular store, even though I was there before a lot of Chinese customers, mm-hmm. they waited on the Chinese first. So the gang members was like, man, this is discrimination, cuz. I said, I don't see it that way. What do you mean? You was here first. I said, I see self-preservation. Mm. What you mean by that? They're waiting on their own first. Then when they finally got to me, I said, ma'am, sir, no, I don't want anything. I got my students here. This is an experiment. Mm. We walk out of the store. I said, look to your left. What do you see? I said, none but Chinese businesses. I said, now that's gangster. Police car passed by. I said, look in that police car. Who's driving it? Chinese police officer. I said, that's gangster. I said, find a soul food restaurant in Chinatown. Brother Muhammad, there is none. I said, but there's Chinese restaurants in the hood, and you don't even know whether you're eating a dog or a cat.
Think about it.
Then we left Chinatown. We took a left. We went to another area. I said, brother, what does that sign say? It says Little Tokyo. We went 8 blocks in another direction, King Cam. I said, what does that sign say? It said Koreatown. We went in another area. It said Little Armenia. I mean, the city, the government put big signs up.
Wow.
We went to another area in LA called Little Cambodia. Then we went to another area called Little Israel. Then I took them back to the hood and went to a swap meet. When we walked in the swap meet, I said, who's selling you your T-shirt? All Asian people. Now these gangsters are crying. I said, so what do you say you run?
Yes, sir. Tapping into that mind of ownership and understanding who we are as a people and understanding that ownership is the key to freedom and liberation. Because if you don't own anything, like you said,
Hey.
you run around talking about this your hood, but you don't own
Brother,
the street.
A Rolling
block.
60s, they don't look. I said, brother, y'all don't have an artist that could put y'all a logo together? Why y'all wearing Seattle Mariners hats and calling that Rolling 60s hat? Y'all making the NBA, the football leagues, y'all are wearing Pittsburgh Pirates hats, calling it Pyro.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't have no artist that could design y'all logo? What kind of gangsters are y'all? I said, you own nothing, brother. And that's what's, you are the generation born. You're supposed to be warriors, but you're warriors in the wrong way. You're preying on your people. And that began to turn around the gangs in Los Angeles. This was years ago.
Wow. Yes,
and as a result of that, many of them, Nipsey Hussle was one of them that I mentored. He started opening up businesses. See,
Yes, sir.
Until we do that, brother, we're going to lose, Chief.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned the marriage between hip hop and consciousness or knowledge of self. And like you said, in the 80s, you know, you can listen to hip hop and you can hear the teaching specifically of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, coming through our artists. Now, if you look at the civil rights movement, you see where the artists and entertainers were also instrumental in assisting there. Sam Cooke was an artist that was helping in the movement. You had athletes like Jim Brown, obviously Muhammad Ali.
The OJs.
The OJs. So what, from your vantage point, crept in the door? We know what crept in the door, but it's for y'all. To cause a divorce, if you will, of the consciousness or knowledge of self in the hip hop artist.
First, that's a great question. And, you know, again, I have to reference scripture. If you were Satan, where would you be sitting? See? Satan has control of money. Satan has control of the images. See? The Bible says, in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Words are powerful, brother. What does a word do coming in through music? A word shapes thought. Well, what do thought shape? Thought shapes matter. See? So when rap music in the 80s was talking about kings and queens, we started watching those thoughts, and black people was wearing the African medallions, remember?
Yes, sir.
Red, black, and green was everywhere. Queen Latifah.
Right.
See? They wasn't acting like strippers. They were queens. They was dressing modest. See?
Yes, sir.
Our mind was on Africa, freeing Africa. So when the Jewish powers who control Hollywood saw that, they said, we cannot allow black people to wake up because they benefit from our ignorance.
Yes, sir.
Our ignorance is what drives the prison industry. Our ignorance is what drives these hospitals. Because in our ignorance, we don't know how to eat to live. We don't know how to think to live. So when the Jews saw that hip hop wasn't going anywhere, they had to go and take control of it. Because when hip hop was being controlled by us and distributed by us, we could say what we wanted to say. Once they got hip hop, my dear brother, I remember being a vital role when the East Coast and the West Coast artists was beefing. And they went to meet with Minister Farrakhan, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Fat Joe, all of them at his table. And you know what they told him? Minister, when we come with a conscious song, they strike it down. And the Jews who be sitting in the room, because they are the A&R directors, they decide what goes to the radio. Listen at what they said. Don't your people call themselves bitches and hoes? Don't you think that's what they want to hear? Don't you think they want to hear pimping? So you want to feed swine to our people when they was listening to hip hop. They was listening to conscious rap.
Public Enemy, Ghetto Boys.
See, gangster rap started out against them.
Against the police. They was going right at the police.
Well, they flipped it. And they made us start rapping against each other. And it went downhill from there, brother, because now hip hop is the Pied Piper for leading our children to Satan's world. See? So now a little girl, 7 years old, is shaking her butt in front of men just getting out of prison. See? A little boy want to be a gangster instead of a doctor. See? I mean, the music is a death style. It's not a lifestyle. And now the rappers are getting caught up and they're rapping about murdering and killing and catching a case, Rico acts.
Catching the case. Yes, sir.
But they only go after the ones when they let them get a certain amount of money, they take it back by hitting them with a case, brother. Mm-hmm. Because around the artists now are informants. They're putting informants all up around the artists and got them continuing the beefs because the beefs is what's making money. And this is why people like Kendrick Lamar is putting a dent in their game. See? Because the hip hop industry was taken over by those Jews who own prisons. And if you remember, Minister Farrakhan revealed this, that there was a secret meeting in Hollywood where Homeland Security, the FBI, met with some of the big hip-hop moguls and told them that they own prisons and they intend to fill those prisons. And they used the music, see, as a gateway to lead our brothers and sisters to crime.
And you see it happening in real time. You mentioned the Ricos. You know, you had Young Thug and YSL case in 2022, Rico. YFN Lucci, 2021, Rico. YSL and YFN groups that they allege was beefing. And they end up hitting both the artists with Rico charges and cases. And both of them did time. Then you have Diddy, where they hit him with a Rico in 2024. Now you have Lil Durk and Yellow Beezy, who are arrested in jail for murder for hire. Murder for hire plots, allegedly, against them. So you mentioned the Rolling 60s earlier, Big U and Loose Cannon and, other artists now taken down in Operation, I can't think of the name of it right now, but it was a big operation where they swept through and took everybody down. So if hip hop being the culture or the voice of the streets in the 80s, the direction was freedom, justice, and equality, liberation, and truth for our people, freedom for our people, you saw that reflected in our behavior. Now, when the language changed, gangster rap turned into trap, turned into drill. Now
the trap became a trap, huh?
Yeah, trap became a trap. And now the drill and everybody's a murderer, everybody's a shooter, and everybody's catching the case now. So, when our young people see this, why is it important to direct them to the Nation of Islam?
Well, again, that's the trap, brother. And the thing that Satan always feared, he don't fear weapons. See, Satan only fears truth. Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Satan has been winning because Satan is riding the minds of ignorant people, and mostly us. Everybody gets strong economically off the backs of black people because we don't produce nothing. Nothing. So when the artists start waking up, and many of these artists that you mentioned, guess who many of them met with? Farrakhan. See? Well, what did he say to you?
That's the question.
Many of these artists, they respect the Nation of Islam. I meet with them all the time, brother. They really want to come this way, but they fear that their status, their money, their bags. I got to hold on to my bag, Brother Muhammad. Hey, brother, have at it.
Yes, sir.
See? Why gain the whole world and lose your soul, brother? Because once you go over into that Hollywood industry and people are learning a lot through Diddy and others, brother, it's totally wicked. And once they got the clutches on you and they got information about you, they got things that you are doing, the things that they introduce to black artists will blow your mind, brother, up in Hollywood.
You out there in the LA. What's some of the horror stories heard about what they introduced to some of our artists? Because you see it now on YouTube. These artists are either writing books or doing interviews, and they just blowing the doors off about some of the stuff they done seen.
If you read the Talmud allows Jews to have sex with children. That's in their writing. That's in their religious writing. Black people don't know this. See? So it's okay for an elderly white man to have sex with boy and girl children. In their Talmud. In the Talmud, they can have sex with animals. In the Talmud, it's okay to lie to non-Jews, to steal and rob from non-Jews. Well, what's happening in Hollywood? You want to be famous? And guess who you got to lay down with? I'm not saying every one of them, but most of them. People think Cat Williams is crazy. We helped Cat Williams. Cat Williams saw some stuff that he didn't agree with. So they have to attack him as if he's mentally insane. But he ran into, I'm not going to say, I know what I've heard. I don't like to repeat rumors.
Yes, sir.
If I don't have the actual facts, I'm not going to say it.
Yes, sir.
But I've heard a lot of crap, brother. And I could believe that some of this has happened. One of the Jewish powers that be, Weinstein, all the women that he was running through, if they wanted to be in movies, they had to have sex with him. How many sisters didn't say nothing? Because if they would have stood up and brought evidence against them, would they get kicked out of Hollywood? It's a lot going on, my dear brother.
They did a Nickelodeon. I don't know if you saw the Nickelodeon interview that they did, and it covered like shows like All That, other childhood shows that I grew up watching. They even covered some of the Disney shows. And these are childhood stars, child actors and stuff. And they talk about, some of the producers and the writers and the power that they hold against them, because they trying to just be stars. They trying to act and they trying to be famous. And then they talk about the abuse that they suffered on set. They talk about one of the, I think the show was Zach and Cody, I think it was, and one of the artists, he talked about how his father was on there, and he was trying to keep his son away from these producers. He was like, he can act, but I'm gonna be right here with him.
Well, when Minister Farrakhan says to people that Jews control Hollywood, he gets attacked. If Kanye, anybody said that they control, and they do, well, why we can't say that? They control the banks. I ain't mad at that. That's gangster.
Right.
We should be like that. Right. What do we control? If we walked our black talent away from him and set up our own, what has he got? Now, but if you go back and look at how Hollywood was founded and the code of conduct for black people, I forget some of the Jewish producing houses, but they said they would never show black people in a positive light. Said make tarts out of their women, docile black men who always acquiesce to white folks, show their women as whores and prostitutes. I mean, look at the roles we play. We can't even win an Oscar unless we played a negative role. But that's in their writings. That's in the foundation of what they do, brother. They will never show us in the proper light. Many of the artists, they want to be conscious. See, they want to put out movies like Hannibal. They want to put out movies, and show Cleopatra in the right light, but Hollywood rejects it. And then we back off. So this whole system, my dear brother, we are the people of God's choice. We are who he's after. And black people are going to rise while the white world will fall. We're going to come together by choice or by force. And look, man, I'm not into converting everybody to the Nation of Islam. I'm not into that.
Yes, sir.
Because by nature, you are a Muslim if you understand I don't believe in converting. I don't have the power to convert. See, when I teach, I don't teach to convert people to the Nation of Islam. I teach to connect with you.
Yes, sir.
If I could just connect and be a good brother to you, that's all that matters. See, whatever you call yourself, fine. If you're going to be a Christian, be a good one. But be one consciously and know your history. And that's what we're beginning to see forming.
Yes.
People like Big U. Big U may have been doing, I don't know what my brother was doing, but that brother was pulling the streets together. And he was bringing peace also, even if he did some of the things that they allege that he's done, I don't know that.
Yes, sir.
I could defend that brother, but I do know what he was doing to help keeping the peace in Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
See, that's what they feel that more so than whatever the crimes that they're charging him with. They feared that he was uniting the gangs as well.
And it's interesting because I watched an interview where he talked about in his development, in and out of prison and things like that, he was introduced to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan. So he started studying the teachings, and he talked about how he cut his hair, and he started, like you said, deciding to change and be more of a better example for the community. And he decided that he wanted to move in that direction.
Well, if you look at him in his federal records, they tried to get him to say something negative about Minister Farrakhan.
I got that. I have that clip.
They gave him more time as a result. It's right in his federal document.
He said it's in the indictment. It's
they gave him more time because of his association with Minister Farrakhan. I mean, brother, our people don't know things like this, So, but I'll say this. The artists are beginning to wake up. You'll see. The artists, they're waking up. And we're going to have to deal with the woke culture because as America fall and Trump doing his thing by showing how all white people, well, not all, most white people feel.
Yes, sir.
Don't ever forget, 70 million people voted for him. See? When Jesus was doing the Roman time, who did the people choose? Jesus or Barabbas?
Barabbas.
Do you know that Barabbas' first name was Jesus and Barabbas is his last name? He was Jesus Barabbas. Do you know what Barabbas was charged with? Sedition. He was charged with causing an uprising in Rome that got some Roman soldiers killed. What was Trump charged with?
Insurrection.
And
getting some people
Did some people get killed? Mm-hmm. So is that prophecy or history? Who is Trump? Is he the modern day Barabbas? Remember the people say they didn't want no Jesus. They didn't want no truth-telling Jesus. Give us a lying Barabbas. And that's what you got. And white supremacy among white power men. White men feel now emboldened because a white man is finally speaking for them. Trump thinks that he's the second calling of Jesus.
The white evangelicals back Trump heavy.
It's right there in scripture. That's who they want, brother. They couldn't let no black woman, no mammy, be their president. Are you kidding me? They don't even want a white woman, let alone a sister.
Right.
See? So, brother, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. America is going to fall and black people are going to rise and black people are going to come into power in America, period. But we're not going to come into power under no Democratic Party that was started by the Klans or the Republicans. We're going to have to go independent.
Yes, sir.
And we're going to have to follow the Koreans. We're going to have to follow the Chinese. Where's Africa Town in Atlanta?
Don't exist.
Do a Chinatown exist here?
Yes, sir.
Do a Koreatown exist here?
Yes, sir.
Really? Who sell us our hair? You mean to tell me we can't jump on no plane and go get that hair? Who sell us our nails? You don't know what them people saying around your feet. Don't think. What are they saying? Our sisters can't do nails? We sick, brother. We got to stop begging white people to do for us what our unity will do. And we could leave a better future for I'm glad they're kicking Black history out of the schools. We did better under segregation.
Most people, what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, that segregation was the worst, was the biggest hypocritical trick
Thank you.
ever put on our people. I'm paraphrasing.
Well, what's wrong with separate but equal? Every ethnic group that come in America look at us, they crazy. They establish an area. They carve it out for themselves. And they go to the bank, brother. What do?
We try to integrate in with white people.
We feel that if I don't live next to white people,
I'm not established.
I'm not validated.
Right.
See? And in fact, Atlanta right now, y'all got gentrification going on, right? These dilapidated areas was valuable all the time, but only when white folks get it. So now they're coming back buying up these old houses.
Remodeling them.
So anyway, brother, the artist, Minister Farrakhan said there will not be liberation the way it should be until the artists are the key, brother. They are the Pied Pipers, which will either lead our generation to hell or lead them to God. See? Because whatever Jay-Z say is more powerful than what T.D. Jakes say. They got more followers. See? So when the artists get sick of this, and the artists start look at Trump is going to wake up the artists. And the artists are going to have to sing a new song. They're going to start singing songs of liberation. But there ain't going to be no coming back now to being step and fetch artists. You're going to use my mouth as a weapon to kill my people.
Right.
See? So this is what we're looking at, King Cam. And shows like this, it helps. You see? Because either I'm a liar or I'm telling the truth. And all I want to do is put the truth out in front of you. You choose whether you accept it or reject it. It's on you. Your blood is not on my hands, but you won't be able to say, did nobody try to teach you? We know that Bible, brother. We are taught the science of that Bible. We know the prophecy of the book. No one has never charged Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, not even his students. Not one religious scholar can deal with us when it comes to that Bible and or Quran.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one thing that came to mind, I know in a book that Student Minister Demetric Muhammad wrote, he was talking about the social impact of the Nation of Islam and why Brother Malcolm was one of the reasons he was targeted was because of the manhood that was exemplified in Brother Malcolm is exemplified in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and how it takes us from being niggas into gods. And that structure, that process that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has instituted is what the government fears. Because they say if you hear that, if you follow the process, you follow the structure, you follow the teaching, then there's a transformative power that's in that teaching. And now Elijah Muhammad is manufacturing Minister Farrakhan over and over and over and over again, and Muhammad Ali's over and over and over again, and we can't stop it.
And when you're looking at one, I used to sell dope right here in Atlanta. I worked for an airline called Eastern Airlines. I was at one while made $250,000. I was getting ready to go big. Mm. And a brother walked into my house with a tape of Minister Farrakhan. I'm about to turn into one of the biggest dope dealers in Atlanta. But that tape saved my life because I realized my ignorance was being used by white folks to bring dope into my community, to where I hurt my own, even my blood brother became a crackhead because of me. And I've been working hard as I can to undo the damage that I allowed the satanic force to take advantage of my ignorance, because I always wanted to get my family out of poverty. And the only way out for me at that time was drugs. Mm-hmm. But that was the game that the white man played on us. And at that time, I used to go get my drugs either from the airlines or white doctor out of Buckhead. Mm-hmm. You know, I get nervous sometimes even when I come back home to Atlanta, because we didn't go to the Buckheads and the Stone Mountain that y'all do today.
Yes, sir.
You didn't go to those places.
Yes, sir.
But I am a product of that manufacturing plant. And Minister Farrakhan said, brother, come follow me and I'll make you a fisher of men. It dignifies you because masculinity is under attack.
Yes, sir.
See, they want us to be more feminine. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to be masculine. I want to be who I am by nature, not to attack anything else. But masculinity, no matter what the color is under attack. See? Do you know the number one thing that's being held over Africa's head today if they want to get support from America?
The LGBTQ.
They got to push a gay agenda. Mm-hmm. But in most of the African, the governments have said, wait a minute, we don't suffer from that here. Right. Now, I'm not mad at that. I have a lot of friends that are gay. I'm not anti that. But I also don't want you to be anti-masculinity. If that's what you've chosen to do, may God bless you. You still my brother. I still love you. That's just not my way. I don't agree. See, I don't agree with liars, but you still my brother. I don't agree with people who smoke, but you still my brother. But I don't want that pushed on me as if I got to accept that no matter what. No, I don't, but I'm never going to mistreat you.
Right, right.
See, and so that kind of black masculinity, even Denzel, the conversations I've had with some of the actors, mm-hmm. They said, Minister, they want me to wear a dress. They want to destroy black masculinity because a strong black man puts fear in a white boy.
That's right. And to transition over, right off of that, you know, down in Texas, in Frisco, there was a young brother by the name of Carmelo Anthony, not the basketball player Carmelo Anthony, but a young brother at a track meet, and he gets into an argument with a young,
I heard about that.
A young white boy, and his twin brother, and he stabs him. So now the black boy's in jail, obviously, with $1 million bail, and there's a lot of different conversations happening around this issue. You know, is it a black and white issue? Is it a right or wrong issue? You know, people are bringing up Dylan Roof. People are bringing up Kyle Rittenhouse. You know, these people went into the black church. Dylan Roof did and killed some people. And they took him to Burger King. Kyle Rittenhouse walking around in the streets in a protest with a gun he not supposed to have because he underage in a place he not supposed to be. He done transported over state lines. Then he hurt some people. And they raised $500,000 to get him out of jail. Now there's a fund for Carmelo Anthony to get him out of jail to help the family with that $1 million bail, and white people losing their mind. So you mentioned the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talk about the onion of white civility being pulled back.
Again, they showing you who they are. This is their system. It ain't for you. It's for them. What do they call their justice system? They call it a criminal justice system. Why do a criminal get justice? I thought the victim is supposed to get justice. See? So it's just like politicians who get into politics and they want to do what they see their white counterpart do And then they catch a case. Don't you see white supremacy is still alive? The mindset of white supremacy is alive. What is that mindset? Where black life is devalued, particularly the black male. They can't handle the melanin, brother. I'm not mad at the snake for being who he are. I'm just mad at those of us who don't realize he's a snake.
Yes, sir.
We're not going to get no justice in America. They're going to keep proving us right. It's in our teachings. The white man is the devil. You don't see them saying, no, we not. You just hear black folks, no, they ain't the devil. I think we more devil than they are. Yeah, we are, because we're trying to be like them. But they are the masters at it. So we're not going to get no justice. People say, well, it's the system, minister. It's not white people. I said, oh, really? So when a spider spins his web and catches flies and fleas and whatever it catches in its web, you're going to say it's the web and not the spider? So you're going to tear down the web, but leave the spider living? He going to spin another web. No, brother.
Keep on doing his evil.
Left wing, right wing, same bird. Democrats, Republican, same bird. We're not going to get no justice, brother. God is going to force us to come out of America. The Million Man March was one of the greatest demonstrations. That march was held on a Monday. People don't it wasn't on a weekend.
Talk about the significance of that.
It was on a Monday.
Our people don't really understand what that was.
That was Lazarus coming out of the grave. And when 2 million black men showed up on a Monday, America shut down. Congress left town. The president left town. 2 million black men showed up. The most peaceful demonstration, because we didn't march to blame white people. We had a march to atone for what we didn't do for our children, how we've been treating the black woman, how we have not done something for ourselves. And that day, there was, I think, 25,000 black children to be adopted. And when Minister Farrakhan gave the orders on what we should go back home and do, crime dropped by nearly 50 to 70% all across the country. We eradicated the waiting list of black children to be adopted. Brothers start going back, joining the churches, joining NAACP, joining SCLC. Right after that march, Minister Farrakhan got attacked, because when Jesus called Lazarus from the cage, that's when the Jews went crazy and said, if we leave this man alone, the whole world will go following him.
That's right.
See? And that's when they decided to never put Minister Farrakhan back on TV, because they could not defeat him in argument. Then what did Minister Farrakhan do? He went on a 40-nation tour. After Jesus resurrected Lazarus, what did he do? He took a long trip. Are you looking at prophecy or history? Who is Farrakhan? Who is this man for real? Could it be that he is the modern day Jesus? That's the power of the Million Man March, brother. And it drove the white male crazy, see, to see 1 million black men, 2 million show up in Washington, D.C. And when that march was over, brothers from Iowa, brothers from Idaho, black people from D.C., Philadelphia, all of us together, not one argument, not one fight. Even the sisters showed up. Many of them started passing out, and we would take the sisters and pass them out of harm's way. Very powerful event, brother. The entertainers saw. We was getting ready to unite, and the Jews who felt threatened came in and started threatening the entertainers to get away from Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
And you know what? That's significant. As I'm listening to you, I think about the time. The Million Man March was in 95. That was right before Pac was killed, right before Biggie was killed in 97, East Coast, West Coast. If that hadn't been messed with and the artists hadn't been bullied away from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you're talking about lives that could have possibly been saved.
Yeah, I was
In
there
that
when
aspect.
Pac was killed. We met with Tupac. We met with Snoop. They was trying to get away from Suge Knight. And Tupac, we met at a place called Brotherhood Crusade. Tupac was Tupac wrote a song, I Ain't Mad at You.
Yes, sir.
But he said that was me really singing in the third person because he had a friend that became a Muslim.
Yeah. You're a Muslim now. No more dope gang.
So Tupac really didn't want to, he was really conscious, but he got caught up in that crazy world of banging because of Suge Knight. But he was being mistreated and he wanted to get away. So he and others invited me to Vegas. And because Tupac, when he got back, he was interested in learning more about the teachings because he wanted to get back to his conscious self. But Interscope Records and Suge Knight, they wasn't having it. See? So our brother gets killed. And I was there. In fact, I prayed over him before his mother pulled the plug.
Wow.
Because we didn't have that meeting. And so Snoop didn't get back with me, but the brother wanted to just get back some minutes. I want to get back to what I was doing. I want to wake up black people. You know, Pac was like, to me, what this Kendrick is becoming today. You know, but Pac didn't make it out, man. And look, Interscope made more money after he died. They made $1 billion, brother. He was worth more to them dead. Not only did they make a lot of money, Suge Knight, because he owned the man's masters. If they got your masters, then they the master. They own our entertainers, brother. And they use us, you know, to lead them. Look, the Jews have a ceremony where scapegoating, you heard the term scapegoat?
Yes, sir.
Where the Jews take a goat and they whisper all their sins into the goat's ear and then let the goat loose in the wilderness. Is somebody whispering all of their sins in our ear and letting us loose? But they have to use a goat to go get the sheep. So a lot of the Suge Knights and sometimes the Diddy, they know where the talent is. They go get the talent to bring it back to the Jews. See, so they scapegoating our artists and bringing them to the Jews, getting a lot of money. And then the Jews is telling them what to sing about, what to dance about. Take off your clothes. Isn't it something, man? You can't even sing a beautiful song without being naked. I can't even hear your voice for seeing your breasts. What happened to just a beautiful song?
Right.
And so, brother, we're in the throes of Satan. That's all I can go back to. But what I love is we're going to wake up.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to be so powerful. But we're only going to wake up when we see America failing. See, the white man's world is going down. Our world is going to come up.
It's coming up. It's coming up.
So that's where we at, my brother.
So can you talk about some of the work that's happening in LA? What you got going on? Yes, sir.
Well, we are organizing right now where we're going to have what we call the Los Angeles Unity Peace Day, where we're looking to have it in the SoFi Stadium. And right now, many of the artists, Dr. Dre, Snoop, we're working on Jay-Z. They are all talking about, with Kendrick and others, they want to come together and produce a peace album to bring conscious rap back, because they're seeing how it's going down. On this day, we're talking about 70, 80,000 black people coming together in a stadium to be reintroduced. When I showed Snoop and those, I do a peace ride with the bikers, lowriders, been doing it for 17 years, where the gang members, the conscious gang members now, whenever there's a shooting, we show up in that community to embrace the mothers. We show up to let them know that your son or your daughter did not die in vain. That movement has caught the eye of some of the artists. And so now when I showed them the video footage of hundreds of bikers, lowriders, going into the hoods, and I said, when we do the United in Peace Day LA, 5,000 gang members are going to apologize to 30,000 mothers for the death of their children. When Snoop heard that, he said, brother, when they do that, brother minister, the artists, we're going to come behind them and ask for forgiveness for our lyrics.
Wow.
And then ask all the rappers, let's get back to lifting our people through our music. And then I say, brother, if y'all do that, now the preachers, the imams, the pastors, we're going to come and apologize for not teaching scripture right.
Yes, sir.
And for staying in our mosques or in the church and not being out in the highways and in the byways, being with the people. See? And so that week, 10,000 gang members are going to sign a treaty to stop the killing. No killing at schools, no killing at parks. You know, no more pulling up on brothers asking them where you from.
Right.
See? Giving brothers a pass. All of that is going to become a part of it. We're going to be flying in gang members from Chicago, from Atlanta, from New York, from Baltimore. They're all coming in to witness the gangs of LA signing no more killing. You're going to have the Latin gangs. You're going to have the Samoan gangs. You're going to have the Asian gangs. They can all be there. And then, God willing, we want to take this on a tour. So we're going to have United in Peace Day Chicago, where 300 gang members are going to leave LA and go to Chicago to support them.
Yes, sir.
Let's stop tearing up our community. Let's start protecting it. Then New York, then Atlanta. So inshallah, next July, we intend to have a big event called United in Peace Day LA. It's time for consciousness to rise again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I definitely want to be a part of that. So,
we'll be calling you King Cam.
yes, sir,
you got to be there, brother.
Be a part of that. We got to have unity in the streets.
Yeah.
Well, you know, man, this was a powerful bill. This was definitely a shift in the culture conversation.
Well, we hope so, you know, but the artists play a key role right along with the brothers and sisters in the streets. I love the streets. See, when I come to Atlanta, I want to go where's the biggest hardheads? See, I want to go sit with them because they don't think nobody care. And when the homies see that you for real, brother, that you're not there with the press and you're not trying to get some strength and become somebody off of their get down, man, the brothers need to feel us. See, and that's what I like to do, and that's what I have done. I go to the hoods when ain't nobody else there. I go play dominoes with them.
Yes, sir.
You know, and after I get through playing dominoes, but I'm dropping some knowledge. I'm dropping some seeds. You know, brothers, y'all know y'all got cameras all around here. Now, we didn't know that, Brother Muhammad. Y'all know the white man is trying to set y'all up. And then when I go to the neighborhood, I never go in there with a lot of brothers. Sometimes I go by myself, King Cam. I have to stop doing that.
Yes, sir.
But that's how I won many of the streets in LA, because I always came to them by myself and not with some big entourage of Muslims with bow ties acting like we want something from them. I didn't go trying to sell them a pie or paper. I just went to sit with them to get to know them as brothers. And that's how Allah blessed me to win many in the streets of LA.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how can the people, you know, stay up to date, stay tapped in and what you got going on in LA? And
you know, I don't know how to introduce these. I'm on Instagram, but I wouldn't know how to tell you how to follow me because, you know, I just hadn't, I'm still a dinosaur.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You may have to help me with that piece.
Yes.
I'm on Facebook, but the youth in the mosque handles that for me. So I'm on Instagram, Minister Tony Muhammad. I'm on Facebook, Minister Tony Muhammad as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, Oh yeah, yep. That's the one. Because there was actually like two of them. There was like a fake one that somebody had tried
Yeah,
to pull up.
somebody set up a fake one.
Yeah, so it's the one with the blue verified check. It's the one with the blue verified check. Minister Tony Muhammad, Brother Minister Abdul, Saeed. So, like I said, that was a powerful bill, powerful conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For being on the show.